I'm Kevin Coleman with the Santa Post, and I just attended a City of Chillicothe Planning Commission, and you guys gave a presentation on a project that you've been working on since March. Can you please introduce yourselves?
Sure. My name is David Baird. I'm a senior project manager with American Structurepoint.
And I'm Ashley Newnam, senior planner with American Structurepoint.
And your company is involved in 3 different projects here in Chillicothe and Ross County. And I actually confused myself. I thought this was in regards to the Octangie Park, but that's completely separate.
That is correct. We are not the project managers for American Structurepoint on the park. There is another group that is working on that. I have been in meetings about that, but I would not want to go into the details about that just because that's not my area.
Before we were rudely interrupted, the Octangie Park is a completely separate project.
That's correct.
And also your company is working on the Ross County plan, the new Ross County plan.
That's correct. So that project is very much in its infancy. We've just got under contract on that. We've met with Devin at the county, and we're working on developing a project schedule, but we're very, very much in the infancy of that project.
And Devin Shoemaker, the Ross County
That's
planner,
correct.
is
Yes.
very much the coordinator, contact person for those two, Octangie Park and the county.
No, the Octangie is with the city, but Devin Shoemaker is for the Ross County Comprehensive Plan project.
Well, I pestered Devin enough about Octangie Park.
Yeah, I'm sure he's involved in some level of that, but yeah.
But what the two of you are dealing with is revising the zoning.
That's correct. So the meeting we just did today was revising the city's zoning code.
Which you're not calling zoning anymore.
Correct. It's because we're bringing in other areas of the codes that are in the city's number of different codes, what we call the subdivision regulations, and also the sign code. So because it involves so many different things, we use the term Unified Development Code because that really hits at what it is more than just zoning.
A recurrent theme was that the current code is complex, multiple words for the same ideas, and you want to simplify and reduce it down.
That's correct. Yeah, it is very confusing. It can be interpreted 2 different ways in very, very numerous times. So what can happen is it's not very clear as to how the decision should be made. It's open for interpretation, which with such an important document, what can happen is it can lead to a lot of conflicts. So we want to make this much easier to use than it currently is.
I think one maxim is the more words you use, the more they can be misinterpreted and distorted and everything. So if you keep it simple, it's hard to make a wrong decision. Or
well, we do kind of spell out in the code sometimes, to say to make it clear as to what it is. One of the key things is that, like right now, there's a lot of missing definitions. So a word could be interpreted differently by 2 different people, and it'd be very well meaning. So if you have more definitions in the back of the document, it makes it clear as to how you would interpret something. So yeah.
And you also pointed out that it's a bit of a hodgepodge. There's been additions to it, things that should have been removed. So you're doing sort of a wholesale replacement?
That's correct. There's a lot of what we would kind of call cleanup that needs to be done. And so the biggest goal out of this is definitely to make this easier to use, easier to administer. When I say administer, make it easier on city staff because they can be put in some pretty difficult positions because the code can be interpreted different ways. And we want to, reduce that conflict. So
Let's also make it easier for residents to understand, and then also make it easier for developers to understand for potential investment.
That's correct. A lot of the language today, because it can be interpreted differently, what we find when we talk to developers is that they want a clear path. They want to know what are my requirements to be able to get approved. And when you read today's current code, there's a lot of things that are very vague and left to interpretation. So it means that a developer is kind of not sure whether they're going to make it through the process or not. And when a developer is not sure they can make it through the process, it's less likely they're going to start down that path.
So if you reduce and simplify the red tape, air quotes, that makes everyone happier.
Yeah, and a requirement may need to be in there for public safety, and so if that requirement's there, we'll have it there, but we'll have it spelled out as to what you need to do. Because today, what we've heard from a lot of stakeholders is I wasn't really sure. And when I say stakeholders, people that have come to our open meetings and given feedback, as we've heard, we didn't really know how we needed to step through the process. And so creating it so that the ordinance such that can be done in a meaningful, easier way is just a huge goal of this process.
And you've been talking with various people to represent various aspects of the community.
Correct.
So you've got some good feedback on commentary, critiques.
That's correct. I mean, these meetings are open to the public. And we have an advisory group that's been selected by the current city council, and they make up different views as different ways people would review the code. So you have you have some realtors that are in the group, you have developers that are in the group, you have business leaders that are in the group. What we find is that they all kind of view things slightly differently. So you want that broad spectrum because you want to see how. What we want is we want to make sure that each of these groups kind of gets the key things that they need to make this work. I always say that it's impossible for everyone to get everything that they want out of a code rewrite, but what you can do is say, okay, these are the clear things that people need to make this work for them, and we find out what those are, and then we write those into the ordinance.
Yeah, and we appreciate all the residents and other focus groups that have participated in this process, and I just wanted to highlight the fact that this effort actually owes a lot to the public too, because I mean, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't like a primary recommendation that came out of the Choose Chillicothe plan, the recent comprehensive plan update. Mm-hmm. One of the top recommendations was to do this code rewrite.
Yeah, I believe that actually was the number one top recommendation, was that that it just needed to be rewritten. And so most of the time cities will look to do a kind of a rewrite after about 10 years. And I don't remember exactly how long a full rewrite's been done with City of Chillicothe, but it is way more than 10 years. So
I might guess 1970s.
It might be. It's been quite a while since this process has been has been undertaken in this city. So it was time.
I think you showed maybe 30 slides, mm-hmm. and this started in March. You're hoping to finish it up in March, so a one-year process. Mm-hmm. Is there any of this accessible to the public?
Oh yeah. Again, every time we're here, if these meetings are open to the public, anything that we've presented, we always leave that with city staff. Someone can call the city and ask about the code rewrite process, and I'm sure they would be able to send you to the right person. But we always leave the materials that we've worked on with city staff, and it's
also available on the department website. Mm-hmm. And then also we have some FAQs as well as some information, including about the timeline and when meetings are available, up on the Engage Chillicothe platform.
Mm-hmm. Is what you presented today available?
Yeah, it will be. I mean, we'll be sending it to city staff immediately after this, probably tomorrow morning. But we'll upload that, or they would upload that. So yeah, anything, if it's been presented at this point or it's been sent to city staff, that is publicly available. And if someone from the city, for whatever reason, can't find it on the website, I'm sure the Planning and Development Department with the city would be happy to send that out to somebody.
And you hope to be done in March?
Well, that is the goal. That doesn't necessarily mean that that is exactly when it will be adopted. As we said in the last meeting, we want to make, this is not a process that is done every year. We know something may come up and we need to study something a little bit more. So it might not exactly be March when the adoption occurs. It could be a month or two later. But that's when we're aiming for this process to be complete. But again, having done a lot of these projects in different cities, we find that there's usually something that we need to tweak there at the end, and so we make sure to take the time to do that right, because again, it's not a process that's done every year. So.
And then once the final product is done, council will ratify it as city law.
That's correct. It first has to go to the Planning Commission, and they make a recommendation to council. So that's the first step. We would have our advisor, actually the very first step would be our advisory group. We would not bring it to Planning Commission without their recommendation. So the advisory group recommends it, then the Planning Commission recommends it, and then the City Council takes that up.
So a final polish before reviewing it, presenting it to the board, which was the group meeting here,
Mm-hmm.
you presented to, then it goes to council.
That's correct. It would come to the Planning Commission, and then it would go to the council, yes.
And I believe it goes through 3 readings.
Yeah,
through City Council. So there's quite a bit of process that goes to make sure that this is right for the city before it gets adopted.
And so there will be a public open house that we'll have, which will basically lead people through. This is the final product. We'll show the highlights of the final product. We'll ask for public input. There will be public hearings on this at the Planning Commission and most likely at the City Council stage too. So public comment can occur. Again, we've had meetings where we've had numerous public comments to date. And like I said, all these meetings are open to the public. So you're more than, if there are anyone who's watching this and they would like to come and be a part of it, we're happy to accommodate that.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.